All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Throughout recorded history, Afghanistan has held this really proud, albeit dark, distinction of being the graveyard of empires. From Alexander the Great all the way to the Soviet Union, invading forces have historically just failed to subdue it. And a massive, massive reason for that is the rugged, totally unforgiving terrain. We're talking vast mountain ranges, uncharted valleys, and deep cave systems that are literally perfect for concealing entire armies. But what if those mountains are hiding something else? Today, we're unpacking a series of extraordinary, highly classified military encounters. And listen, these are not your typical stories of rebel insurgents. We're looking at deeply unsettling reports from highly trained military personnel who claim they've come face to face with ancient, terrifying mysteries hidden right up there in the Afghan highlands.
A very large man with a wooden spear. Line 1 through 5 received. Tango was a what? Seriously, imagine hearing that over the comms. This completely bewildered radio transmission supposedly came from a U.S. Special Forces patrol back in early 2002. They were sent way up into the harsh mountains on a standard search and destroy mission looking for a missing patrol team. But instead of finding enemy combatants, they stumbled onto scattered, shredded military gear and actual piles of bones right outside a cave. What followed was a frantic 30-second firefight that gave us one of the absolute most insane situation reports ever transmitted back to military command.
Section 1. The Giant of Kandahar. So this inciting incident from 2002 really became the cornerstone of modern military cryptid lore. These operators, they didn't just report some generic big guy in the dark. No, they recorded a highly specific target profile. We're talking about a creature estimated to be at least 13 feet tall, armed with a massive wooden spear and wearing animal skins. The physical details are crazy. Thick, wild red hair, 2 rows of teeth, and get this, 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Plus, the guys noted a severe, musky, skunk-like stench just radiating from this thing. After an intense firefight that tragically cost one soldier his life, the surviving team was literally forced to wait on site with this massive corpse until a specialized extraction team could get there. And the absolutely crucial detail here is this number, 1,500. This wasn't just some wild combat rumor that got left up in the mountains. A Chinook transport helicopter was actually dispatched to airlift the creature out. The pilot later went on record saying the body was strapped to a standard 9 by 7 foot loading pallet, which, by the way, is just a wild logistical nightmare to even picture, and the whole thing weighed approximately 1,500 pounds with its rigging. If you strip away the pallet and the heavy tie-downs, you're still looking at an organic mass weighing nearly 1,100 pounds. That is just staggering. The way this whole legend surfaced is pretty fascinating all on its own. The original incident allegedly happened completely in secret back in 2002, with the operators reportedly signing strict non-disclosure agreements. But, secrets that big, they rarely stay quiet forever. In 2008, that anonymous Chinook helicopter pilot shared his account on the Coast to Coast AM radio show, but he stuck strictly to what he personally saw, a massive body with 6 fingers and an incredibly awful smell. It actually wasn't until 8 years later, in 2016, that an interview with an alleged operator going by Mr. K surfaced online. He was the one who finally filled in the violent gaps of the firefight itself, adding in those really vivid details about the red hair and the wooden spear.
Section 2. Eyes in the Sky.
Now, while that Kandahar incident is really rooted in the gritty, boots-on-the-ground reality of an infantry patrol, we need to shift our focus over to the cold, clinical observations of modern military tech. Let's talk about FMVs, or full-motion video analysts. These are highly trained military intelligence professionals. Their entire job, literally their whole purpose, is to sit and meticulously analyze live and recorded video feeds from drones and manned aircraft. They study what they call patterns of life to distinguish normal, everyday civilian activity from enemy combatants. So when people in these highly technical, completely objective roles start reporting anomalies, well, it adds a whole different layer of credibility to the narrative. And across several separate, entirely independent accounts, these advanced systems captured some staggering anomalies. First up, you have an infantry team leader using a Recon 3 thermal imager. He spotted a massive heat signature, estimating it at 10 to 12 feet tall, moving with this incredible relaxed speed right along a mountain peak. Then, a drone operator using midwave infrared at night observed figures 3 to 4 meters tall, just doing normal daily chores around a fire. And the wildest detail here? He noted that the goats tied up nearby looked like tiny house cats next to these figures, which is honestly terrifying and kind of hilarious all at once. Finally, an FMV analyst using infrared surveillance out in the Kringle Valley watched an 8 to 9 foot tall figure that had to bend completely in half just to squeeze inside a standard mud hut. I mean, these aren't panicked soldiers in the middle of a firefight, right? These are trained observers calmly watching screens from a very safe distance. But bringing all this data back to the local culture reveals a super bizarre connection. Those military sightings specifically noted a 10 to 12-foot creature with striking fire-orange red hair. On the flip side of that, we have this very real, very strange bit of local Afghan lore. Soldiers noted this mysterious tribal practice where locals in the region would periodically dye their own hair, and even their goat's hair, a bright, totally unnatural orange color. And occasionally, those orange-dyed goats would just disappear. It didn't take long for soldiers to start theorizing. Was this cultural quirk actually some sort of gesture of appeasement? Like, were they offering red-haired goats to a red-haired giant that shared the mountains with them? It really makes you wonder.
Section 3. Ancient Giants. Modern Warfare.
When we actually analyze how these 21st century classified case files align with texts written thousands of years ago, the parallels are frankly striking. In these modern Afghan encounters, soldiers are reporting a being 13 feet tall with 6 fingers, armed with a massive wooden spear. Now compare that to ancient texts documenting beings like Goliath and King Og. Those ancient texts describe warriors standing 10 to 13 feet tall, and they explicitly, very specifically, mention these ancient giants having 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. That's 24 digits in total. Oh, and they carried spears with bronze tips so enormous the tip alone weighed 15 pounds. The exact physical attributes being reported by modern soldiers looking through high-tech crosshairs are perfectly matching the descriptions of the Rephaim from millennia ago.
Section 4. The Enduring Mystery. To really understand if this is an ongoing phenomenon, let's break down the exact, highly clinical methodology used by an Australian lieutenant out in the Uruzgan province to verify what he was seeing. Step 1, he's sitting on security duty early in the morning and he spots this unusually lanky figure through his thermal imager. It looked human for sure, but the proportions were just totally wrong. Step 2, and this is the critical part. To make sure his eyes weren't just playing tricks on him with the scale, he used a laser rangefinder, or an LRF, targeting the compound walls the figure was walking behind just to get a hard data return. Step 3, the LRF confirmed the distance was a staggering 1,800 meters away. By doing the math on the size of a figure that's clearly visible at nearly 2 kilometers away, he calculated the being literally had to be at least 12 feet tall. Just cold, clinical, step-by-step verification of the impossible.
And the thing is, it's not just the military technology picking this up. We also have corroborating human intelligence, or HUMANT. An Army combat veteran who was out conducting interviews near the eastern Afghan border received a very specific warning from a local village leader. The warning was simple: stay out of the highlands. Why? Because of pale, heavy-set, extremely tall bearded men. The locals specifically pointed out that these men dressed like typical Afghans, but they didn't wear military gear or plate carriers like the Americans. And worse, they had a habit of aggressively throwing massive rocks at anyone who dared to bring their goats too high up into the mountains. So here we have independent human intelligence perfectly matching the physical profiles gathered from across the entire country.
All of which brings us to a final, lingering question. With so many distinct, matter-of-fact accounts coming from entirely different soldiers using totally different advanced tech platforms, what are they actually seeing through their crosshairs? When an infantryman's thermal scope, a drone operator's infrared feed, and an intelligence analyst's recorded data all point to the exact same anatomical anomalies that match ancient texts point for point, well, it kind of forces us to weigh this anecdotal evidence against our conventional logic. Are these the last remnants of an ancient, undocumented species somehow surviving in the most untamable terrain on Earth? The military hasn't officially confirmed it, obviously, but the men who were there, the men who saw them, they seem absolutely certain. Something massive is walking through the mountains of Afghanistan.